Today, I'm going to show you the magic formula for being calm under pressure or being relaxed in stressful situations. Sometimes we can't control our environments, but we can definitely control our attitude towards stress. And I have some very important information to share with you based on this book right here called Relax and Win. This is by an author, Bud Winters, who was a coach for 30 years and guided athletes to over 37 world records. And there's some great data I want to share with you in this book. Some things you can do to train yourself to be calm in stressful situations. Now, before I start, go ahead and comment down below how you cope with stress. Is it good? Is it bad? Do you use medication, drugs, junk food, sugar, smoking, alcohol? Just make a note in the comment section. I'm just very curious. I mean, the significance of how stress affects our body is massive. Have you ever heard of stress induced ulcers? Or what about stress induced diabetes? How could that possibly occur? Especially if you're not eating a lot of sugar or junk foods. Well, stress activates two hormones. One is called cortisol, and the other one is adrenaline. And both of those actually switch the fuel that you run on. It basically switches the body to run on glucose, even though you're not consuming sugar or carbs. The body takes your protein and turns it into glucose, and that's called gluconeogenesis. And so going through chronic stress can actually cause you to have diabetes. And of course, lose your muscles. That's called atrophy. You can actually get fat from stress. You can even develop cancer from stress from different ways. It suppresses the white blood cells, it inhibits the immune system from working, and it causes viruses to come out of remission and be active, as in Epstein Barr virus and the herpes viruses, as well as developing autoimmune diseases like MS, Hashimoto's, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis. Nearly every person in practice that I talked to that developed an autoimmune disease always had some stress event that occurred right before it. And it's usually chronic stress or some major loss. There's also a thing called stress induced stroke or stress induced heart attack. Stress can cause infertility, definitely insomnia, lack of oxygen throughout the body, muscle tension, and this other thing called cortisol resistance, where you just get a lot more inflammation. So even though stress kicks in cortisol, which is an anti inflammatory, over a period of time, you develop this resistance to cortisol, and now you're inflamed because you're lacking cortisol inside the cells. And this is where they give people prednisone. And prednisone is a synthetic type of cortisol, just like they might give insulin to a diabetic type 2 to override this resistance to insulin, or even the prednisone overrides the resistance to cortisol. And look at all the side effects that occur with prednisone, diabetes, complete destruction of the joints. So I think it's really important to understand this stress component. When you're under stress, your ability to solve problems, your ability to be creative is going to be greatly inhibited. Why? Because you're stuck in your head. Pictures and your memories of stressful events. Your ability to be creative and solve problems occur when you're in more of the present, when you're calm, when you have a better state of mind, when you have more space. This is why I always recommend going for a walk. So this book is interesting because after World War II, this author took the same techniques which taught people who flew planes to relax under pressure of combat and applied them to sports. And the results were not only good, they were amazing. 37 world records. Incredible. He also talks about like Joe Louis, the great boxer, Joe DiMaggio, a great baseball player, and noted they all had sleepy, relaxed looks on their faces. Their arms were kind of dangled. What's more important is they let nothing bother them. Whether it was hot or cold, whether the stadium was full or empty, whether the competition proved vicious or gentle. So, one of the things you have to do is you have to really train yourself to have a relaxed attitude. One of the things that the author talks about is working on relaxing the antagonistic muscle. If you're just sitting there right now, right? If you just kind of scan your body where you're holding your tension, with me, it's in the upper back, the neck, and the lower back. So if you can just let those areas go and just focusing on relaxing those areas, that would be one thing you can do. He talks about also relaxing the wrinkles. You can look in the mirror and see where your wrinkles are on your forehead and just start relaxing them, relaxing your jaw muscles and your tongue. Okay. Because so many people hold tension in their jaws. A lot of people hold tension in their gut, especially when they eat. So when you eat, you should slow your eating, chew more, and really relax your whole digestive system. That'll help not just digestion, but it'll actually help you sleep at night. Because I think the number one reason why people don't sleep is they have certain parts of their body that are under tension. And so you have to actively kind of let those muscles go. So these are little exercises that you can do on a regular basis. And these are meant mainly for athletes, but I would apply this to anyone. When I was in wrestling in high school and college, before a match, I would literally be so nervous. I would have the adrenaline pumping through my heart. I would just feel this pounding, just incredibly loud, and I was so freaked out. The last thing I was is relaxed. In fact, when I went to state, I started getting more nervous, and of course, that did not lead to a good performance. But the person that did take first place in state at 185 pounds, I remember watching him. He was basically almost like bored before doing the final match. He was just sitting there, just completely and utterly relaxed. And that's a good state to be because the more stress you have, the more nervous tension, the more muscular tension, the less good performance you're going to have in that competition because you're going to choke. You're not going to be able to think clearly. I remember another incident in college. In order to graduate, I had to give this speech, and I had a terror of public speaking. I had to go up in front of my peers and do this presentation. I was this close to dropping out of college. And I don't know how I got through it, but it was very, very nerve wracking. And so public speaking is another fear that a lot of people have. And the way that I overcame it is I basically just forced myself to do a lot of presentations. I think I did 4,900 presentations over a period of time to get rid of that fear of public speaking. I think the goal should be really have the viewpoint of being carefree and calm under stressful situations. No matter how stressful things are, you have to just change your mind and have a relaxed viewpoint. And that also includes controlling your breathing, breathing through your nose. I remember I went out to dinner with a patient of mine, and as we were talking, she started to choke on her food. She couldn't breathe. And here I am in this restaurant, and I have to give someone the Heimlich maneuver, and I have to remember how to do it. So I started to do it, and it didn't work. And I could see her eyes were bloodshot, and she's turning blue. And thank God I just said, sit down and just totally relax, calm down. And that's when things started to open up in her throat. So anytime someone's in a panic mood, you want them just to calm down and you want them to breathe normally if they can breathe, especially through their nose, or else they're going to basically be starving for oxygen in this panic attack. So, a lot of times when people are stressed out, they're stuck in the past and not in the present. And so, this is so important to connect with your environment, to go for a walk in nature, to do something physical. Whether it's something like bird watching or playing with your animal or playing some sport or being active in your environment that kind of pulls you out of that stress so you have more control over your thoughts. And as a side note to that, B1, natural B1 can really help those excessive thoughts that randomly just go through your mind at night and through the day as well. So if you're deficient in B1 because you're doing too many carbs, that can actually create a bad effect. But taking some natural B1 will put you in a state where within minutes you just feel like, oh, feel calm, more myself. Now, the other thing that I recommend is when you exercise, you should maintain a relaxed body. You're going to have less injuries. You're going to have better performance. Even when you walk or hike, relax every part of your body. Find out where you hold tension. Is it in your ankles? Find out if you're kind of limping to one side because of an old injury and start to walk and relax every part of your body, including your upper back and your muscle and your jaw, and try to breathe through your nose. Okay, so here's some other things out of the book. To get rid of all your tensions in your head and your neck, drop your shoulders as low as they'll go. Get them down there and then lower them even more. When you breathe out, let the tensions go out of your body. Remember to breathe slowly and regularly. As you exhale, drop your tensions. Talk to your right bicep, tell it to let go. Then to your left bicep, then the muscles on the front part of your body, then the muscles on the back part of your body, then the right leg, and then the left leg. Imagine your body like a jellyfish. You have no bones in your left arm, it just sags. Just let it go. Let the tensions go. If you have any trouble relaxing your arms, clench your fist tightly and then let it go and see the difference. I think one of the things that people run into is that when they kind of scan their body for tensions, they might not be able to identify where these tensions are. So I noticed another thing that you can do. I bought this, it's called the mobility stick, and there's a whole series of stretches that you can do that are very different, and they create a lot of very cool stretches in certain positions that you don't normally get into. And so when you put your body through these range of motions, I'm laterally flexing this way and rotating as I'm stretching, and I'm finding tension in my body that I never knew that I had. And I would never find those tensions unless I put my body in those really strange positions, because going the other way, it's totally fine, but going to the left, it's really restricted. And I noticed when I worked out those areas of tension, I had the best night's sleep. So sometimes you have to go through a range of motion and stretching to find out where your tensions are so you can start working on relaxing those tensions, either with letting them go or just stretching your muscles. And then we have also this hormone called oxytocin. I talked about this in other videos. Oxytocin is that hormone that assist in the bonding of a mother to their child after birth. They call it the love hormone, but there's some other things about oxytocin that can help directly lower cortisol and stress. And some of the things that can increase oxytocin is bonding with a pet or an animal, or even donating or contributing to something, which is really helping another. I don't know of anyone who's helping a lot of people who are always in a stress state. This video might be a simple video, but I think it's really important. If you have not seen my video on doing like a stress extraction technique using manual therapy, this is another thing that I think if you add to what I talked about, it can greatly reduce your stress and help you sleep. I put that video up right here. Check it out.